Aloha team. My name is Chris Lee. I am the sales manager and senior loan officer here at the Veterans Mortgage Source and Loan Depot Hawaii. And I have a great opportunity to speak with the Leeroy Kusto from Locations Hawaii. I'm super excited to bring him here today. And today we're going to just talk about ourselves, introduce ourselves to you, our audience. We're going to talk about benefiting the veteran, the active duty service member, and then a couple of things that we wish we learned while we served, and then and then wrap it all up with ways to contact us. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce the Leeroy Kusto from Locations Hawaii. Leeroy, tell me about yourself.
That's a great introduction, Chris. The Leeroy Kusto.
Yep.
No, but my name is Leeroy Kusto. I was born in Micronesia, raised in Micronesia. I joined the military in 2004. Served for 15 years. I did a couple of tours, Iraq, Afghanistan. Also had the privilege of serving as a drill sergeant. Trained some civilians, turned them into elite soldiers. And that was one of the greatest highlights of my career. I got out of the military in 2020 and moved to Hawaii. In the middle of the pandemic, my fiance and I were sitting in a hotel and I was learning, I was looking at the real estate book, learning how to become a real estate agent. But after that, I jumped into real estate, joined a local firm here that's been around for over 50 years, Locations, and I've been doing real estate ever since.
What a fantastic little introduction. Obviously, that small introduction is generations of knowledge, mentorship, coaching, just great stuff, because you literally did teach generations of leaders that are still serving, that are still fighting America's wars, the world's wars right now. And then I appreciate everything you do, Leeroy.
No, thank you, Chris. Thank you for your service. How about you share with us a little bit about yourself as well? Because, your background is huge, Chris.
I appreciate it, Leeroy. Similar timeline. Enlisted originally in 2006. Got a great scholarship right when I was enlisted.
Let's take that back. He was enlisted before. He was enlisted.
And then I have a couple of deployments underneath my belt. Was able to get a fantastic scholarship to become an officer in the Army, all infantry, and then just a fantastic career. Got to meet some of the greatest leaders in the world. I'm sure we've crossed paths a couple of times. And then it's one of those things where the value of serving was absolutely paramount to me, and honorably, diligently served my country. And then the only time I realized my family was a priority was during one of the biggest global pandemics, like you said. And wanted to lay roots down here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And
Hawaii is such a beautiful place to raise a family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then it was one of those times where I was just like, all right, I want to do three things. I wanted to support my family, be that husband and father that they look up to. I wanted to provide a service still to my veteran population and my active duty service population.
You didn't want to stray from that. You want to continue to service in a different form.
Oh yeah. And then I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. Those three things, three basic things, right? Yeah. And which brings me to my next question. What motivates you as a real estate professional, as a real estate agent, as that subject matter expert in real estate here in Hawaii?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Because, as you know, coming up through the ranks in the military, in the Army, especially in the Army, you hear this, hey, there's this thing, VA home loan. As a private, through specialist, sergeant, even sergeant, I was a sergeant, I keep hearing this, right? But I never bought a home when I was in the military. I did not use my VA home loan. Though my leadership was saying there's this thing, they did tell me that, but I just never executed on that. So looking back to those days is if I can go back and tell Specialist Kusto, Sergeant Kusto, hey, Staff Sergeant Kusto, you actually can afford to buy a home using your VA home loan, knucklehead, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the information just was not there in front of me. I feel like if the information was right there, readily available in front of me, I would have made the jump. I would have executed on it, and I would have purchased 2-3 homes, you know?
1,000%.
Yeah, and I think that's what's motivating me. The motivation is providing this information in front of the young soldiers so that way they know that you're not going to be a soldier forever. There's going to come a time where you hang up the uniform, and then you're going to have the rest of your life. So what's next? I think the motivation for me is like setting my fellow active military service members for what's next.
That's a beautiful sentiment, Leroy.
Yeah.
And like, and just to, give you a little bit of slack, we all know that mission first, right? Mission first. So like, taking care of ourselves is sometimes last in priority.
Yeah.
We knew what our priorities of work were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, yourself is
Mission-
last.
Mission accomplishment first.
Oh, yeah. Always. Yeah. So, and sometimes we don't take the time to take care of ourselves. And then our families suffer that as well. But we as subject matter experts, me on the lending side, you on the real estate side, we have this great opportunity to provide that education, especially with the resources that we have available.
Absolutely.
And then, like,
Plethora of resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What resources, as a real estate professional, are there for these young service members and veterans that have honorably served?
I mean, there's a lot of resources out there. You can find this information. This public knowledge. But before we move forward, I'd like to hear what's your motivation, Chris?
Oh, okay.
What motivates you to? Because I see you all over, man. You are providing information. You are on social media. I mean, you are out there just, be a part of that, movement. I want to provide this information to my fellow active service military members and my fellow veterans. So what motivates you? Because I see you. You're out there on the streets running. What is it that motivates you, Chris?
I think, I know that some of the biggest problems that our service members face is that ambiguity or that unknown, that future. It's like, what's next? It's like a lot of that systemic from finances, a lot of that systemic about what do I have to give. Sometimes there's like a lack of purpose. And then some people, some service members, soldiers especially, they get caught up with the fact that they just don't know what the next step is. And then how do I set myself up for success? They can literally do planning, PCCs, PCIs, pre-combat checks, pre-combat inspections. They can take care of their team, their squad, their platoon, their company. They're giving and giving and giving.
That's like natural to them.
That's natural.
It's like, they just come in and they know exactly what step 1 through 10.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
When it comes to mission accomplishment. But
they're doing their troop leading procedures,
Yeah.
but like no one's writing TLPs for themselves, right? And then one of the most.
Let's take that back.
Yeah.
No one is writing TLPs for themselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. If anyone could have told me that. Specialist Promotable Kusto, you need to write a TLP for yourself.
Yep.
I get it. You want to be a sergeant. You want to get into that squad leader position and take care of soldiers. But what's next?
Yeah. One of the most amazing things I've ever done, I didn't really do it because it was embedded in me or anything like that. There was no like plan.
Right.
I just had an NCO. It was just him and his wife.
Right.
Freshly moving into Hawaii, and he couldn't get on-post housing. There was a long list. There's essentially a housing crisis here on Oahu, right? Too many troops, not enough housing, right?
Yes, I think that's every base.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's every base.
Yeah. And like, not to knock military housing.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah, but like, it's the easy button, right?
Yeah.
And then all they know is renting.
Yeah.
Like no one teaches about home ownership. It's like you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
And well, he came up to me. It was during my initial counseling with him, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing about living situation?" He's like, "Well, I'm doing right now. We're living in the hotel, doing TLA right now." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. You're looking for a house?" So, "Oh, I can't afford a house, sir." I was like, "No, you will go and talk to a realtor. You will talk to a lender, and you're gonna see what you can qualify for."
You know, you said you don't know what you don't know. So he didn't know that he was able to get a home loan.
I wasn't even a lender then, so right.
Oh.
I had just bought a house, so I was like, I'm super intelligent, right? I was like, I know how to buy a house. I know how to use my VA home
I got
loan.
the experience.
I got the experience. I just did this one time, and then so I told him, I was like, hey, yeah, I'll link you up with my lender. I'll link you up with my real estate agent. You know, it's they'll answer your questions. They answered all mine, and then I'm a very analytical person, right? I'm gonna ask a million questions, and then I know what I want.
Yeah.
And then they were able to get that for me. I ran through nightmares renting. So I was like, okay, hey, this is a lot. I know this is a lot of money, you think, but the thing is, like, you make BAH, you make BAS, you make COLA.
Yeah.
Like, you're making thousands upon thousands of dollars of non-taxable income that's literally meant for housing. What other occupation gives you all this money for housing?
Housing allowance.
Yeah,
Like,
literally. Like,
there's a separate pay for housing allowance. They give you housing allowance every month to pay your rent.
Yeah.
Why not use that for paying down your mortgage?
Yeah. And then so he bought a home reluctantly because he was like, "Sir, my mortgage is my whole BAH check." I was like, "You're gonna spend that in rent anyway. You're gonna, like, Island Palms on Schofield was gonna take that anyway.
Yeah.
What do you complain about?" And he goes, "Yeah, but it's $600,000. I was like, "Yeah, that's great, man. Your mortgage is $3,000 a month. That's awesome." He goes, "You got a great deal." And he goes, "I don't know. This is like, it's a really big investment. You know, fast forward 3 years." I get a phone call. You know, he's no longer my squad leader. You know, we've gone on. I've moved on to a different company.
So he bought the home, and then 3 years later,
He gives me a call.
calls you back.
"Hey, sir." I'm thinking, "Oh, hey." We're just going to say Sergeant Brown. "Hey, Sergeant Brown, what's up?" It's like, "I just want to thank you, sir." It's like, "About what?" And he goes, it's like, I'm thinking like, oh, he's going to talk to me about tactics, how awesome, like, a tactical leader I am, how great that one FTX we did, how great the white space we used, like all this great stuff. And he's like, "No, like, when you made me buy a house, that was awesome." I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool. Like, what's going on?" It's like, "Hey, we're moving back." He's from Louisiana. And then he goes, "We're moving back, going to Fort Polk. And just to let you know, we just sold our house." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. How much you sell it for?" I'm expecting, like, he's gonna make a good profit off it, right? It's like, "We just sold it for $980,000. I was like, "Excuse me?" And he goes,
That's almost, what's that? That's 300,000.
$380,000.
380,000.
After it was all said and done, after he paid off, all the fees and all the taxes and everything like that, walking away with a little over 300 grand. And he told me, he goes, "Sir, I've paid off all my debts, all my family's debts."
Oh, let's pause there. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
In 3 years, he was able to, let's just say, save.
Yeah.
He was able to save over $300,000, and he was a squad leader.
He was E6. Yeah.
He was a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
He was a staff sergeant after being stationed in Hawaii, on Oahu. He walked away with $300,000.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like, this hasn't happened before, but, like, I've heard similar stories, right? You know, like 100,000, 200,000.
Right.
This is a huge one. He bought when a relatively new build in Eva, and then obviously
new builds,
skyrocketed in price.
Appreciation.
Yeah, appreciation was crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like, right in that surge, because he PCS right around the COVID time frame. And then where people were offering, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over asking price.
Good for him.
And, like, he even told me, like, this is a once in a lifetime thing, but, like,
now we're not saying that this is gonna happen to you when you go and buy your home. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is there's a big possibility. There's a huge possibility of you, making decent amount of money when you do sell your home.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's so many different strategies, and I think we can go over that in a different session.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many different strategies that you and your family can use to create generational wealth from your VA home loan.
Yeah, and this is also stemming from that one question: is like what motivated me, right?
Exactly.
What was my motivation? And he was just so happy, and like all the tactical knowledge, all the experiences, all the hard times we had in the field, deployments, and just like real hard times with hard men. And the one thing he calls me up from was the fact that was this one quick 2 sentences of me counseling him and saying, you are not renting. You're going to go talk. I order you. I don't think it definitely wasn't a lawful order, but I told him, I was like,
you was his accountable partner.
Yeah, you're going to talk to a lender. And
you was his accountability partner.
Yeah, you're going to talk to a lender. You're going to talk to a realtor. I'd never followed up. And then he was just a huge success story.
Dude.
And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him and his family. And then they're doing well. And so it's just like, it was so cool.
Shout out to, I know your name is not Sergeant Brown, but shout out to Sergeant Brown.
Oh, yeah. And then it's just cool because,
it made you feel good. It made you feel like you still continue that service, providing that information to him.
Oh, yeah.
Had you not, put down your foot, not saying that you did tell him to do something, but you gave him, look, I did it. You can too. It's available to you. The BAH is, it's money's given to you for, your rent. Why not use it towards your mortgage?
Oh, yeah. And then, so that's what motivates me. That phone call was what did it for me. It solidified my decision of, getting out of the Army and then pursuing this career in mortgage lending. And it's one of those great things where I get to meet awesome people with like-minded people like you.
So fulfilling. Yeah. I feel like, being a drill sergeant was fulfilling, seeing civilians turn into elite soldiers, but, seeing your fellow veterans and your fellow military service members attain home ownership, using their hard-earned VA benefit.
Yeah.
And then potentially could possibly change the trajectory of their family's future wealth. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's fulfilling to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then, and we talked about, what motivated us. We talked about all these things and, really great situations where there were success stories. What are some things that you wish, you learned when you were young? When you were Private Kusto, when you were Specialist Kusto, when you were young non-commissioned officer, what were some things that you wish you learned?
I wish I had learned that, it's possible. There are possibilities. I wish I had learned to get out of that fear of, I don't know if I'm able to do this, rather than, being afraid of those unknown. Why not learn about it?
Yep.
Why not seek out people in the profession like yourself? Seek out people who have knowledge on this stuff. Seek out, or resources. Find the resources that can provide me with information that can give me the comfort of making the move.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had given more time to learn about the possibilities and not afraid of the unknown.
That's awesome, Leroy.
What about you, Chris?
Oh, man.
If you would go back in time and tell Sergeant Chris, hey, Sergeant Chris, what would you tell him?
I would tell him, don't accept that scholarship and stay enlisted. But, that's a joke. I learned a lot. The non-commissioned officer corps is absolutely fantastic. They're the backbone of the Army. And then the officer leadership is absolutely paramount. There are people that care, and then the ones that you remember are the best ones.
Yeah.
And then you try to forget about the ones that were bad to you. But
you can't.
You learn a lot. You learn.
Yes,
though.
you do.
Yeah. So, no, but in all honesty, the things I wish I learned. So I PCS 4 times. 4 times until I came to Hawaii.
4 times.
I could own 4 homes, but I didn't know. I wasn't educated. I didn't receive VA home loan education. I didn't receive this, hey, I've literally been told and like no fault to them, no fault to my prior leadership, but I've been told by all my team leaders, squad leaders, company commanders, hey, we got a mission to do. We're deploying. You know, I'm not going to give you 10 days to go look for a home. I'm not going to go give you 10 days to go buy a house. I'm not going to go, you do that on your own. Just rent whatever.
Oh, that's big. Before I forget this, so would you advise that somewhere along the line in the leadership timeline that they provide their subordinates with this type of information?
Yeah. So, like, the Army's changed since we were in it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a short amount of time. 3 years is not that long,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's changed significantly.
Yeah.
There are finance classes. They take days, like payday activities now,
Oh, yeah.
where they're teaching these young enlisted, young officers about some of the benefits that they have. Sometimes they get great education. You only get educated from what you receive.
Right.
Right? So it's one of those things where you have this immense amount of knowledge. So we're out here given as much knowledge as we can from experiences, from failed experiences, from failed trials and tribulations, and then from success stories that we've had, right? So, and then we are those subject matter experts that can provide them that service to help them achieve that dream of home ownership and understanding that this is a possibility, like you said, with you. So, yeah, that's what I wish I had. I wish I could have bought, 4 or 5 homes while I PCS to every single duty station that I was at. Do I regret it? I'm like, no, because I'm here now.
Yeah.
I'm
Everything
reaping the
happens for a reason. It led you up to where you're at now. You have such a beautiful family.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
man.
raising a family here on Oahu, and you're a homeowner.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's great. That's like the best segue. It's like, all right, we have all these things available to us, right? Like, what resources are available to you on the real estate side for these young service members, for these veterans that have honorably served?
I would say the biggest resource, I mean, every realtor, every real estate agent or a real estate advisor out there have all these connections with, the resources that provides information on VA home loan, on why it's such a huge benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest resource for me would be people like you. I think the biggest resource for me would be, my lenders, my VA lenders who specializes in VA lending. I lean heavily on you guys when it comes to VA home loans, because if a VA or if a military member comes to me and say, oh, I want to buy a home, great. You know what? The first step, I'm going to introduce you to this guy named Chris. He is he specializes in VA lending here on Oahu, but I'll link you up, and then you guys can connect, and then I think that's my biggest resource when it comes to VA home lending. I mean, there are those resources online. You can Google all this, but it's different.
Oh, yeah.
It's different coming from someone who is actually, in the game, who's actually in the industry, who understands, how to navigate through, the ups and downs in lending, especially with VA.
I think to like caveat off that, one of the best things about us is that we have served.
Yeah.
And then being able to talk that common language.
Yes.
If you can't effectively communicate to someone that these are the benefits that they have and relate to them, because PCSing is hard.
It is a complex thing to navigate, especially when you have a family.
Yeah.
It is a stressful time. I don't know about you, but when I was PCSing, every time I get that order, oh, you're going to PCS to North Carolina. I'm like, oh my goodness. All these things started, oh man, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to ship my vehicle? Where am I going to stay when I get there? All these things start coming into play. But now that we're on this end and we know exactly what, our brothers and sisters in arms need,
Yeah.
we can guide them through that process. There's this place, go to here. You know what I mean? I think we're big resources for them.
Exactly. And this is the point where, we empathize
Yeah.
with them. And then it's one of those things where we understand the struggle. We understand that this is a stressful situation and a stressful time, and we can provide those resources for you, whether it be just from our past knowledge, connecting you with the right person, being there for them, and then like hand walking. Several times I've picked up, future clients, and really they're just service members to me, right? They're my brothers and sisters as well.
Yeah.
Picked them up and let them borrow my truck. Not saying I'm going to let you borrow my truck, but it's like if it's if they need it, sometimes it's hard, and I understand the financial burden that it is of doing that sometimes.
And especially being in a new place that you've never been to,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And knowing that there's someone there to assist, I think that's huge.
Oh yeah. And then let's be real. There are 20,000 troops on this island.
Ooh.
Yeah. All 6 branches of the military. 6.
6.
Yeah. Yeah. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coasties, and our Space Force Guardians. Like literally all 6 branches of the military are here on the island of Oahu. We're literally a 40 by 40 mile island.
It's a small piece of rock.
Yeah. And like there's 2 big mountain ranges where you can build on, and so like you're really condensed.
Yeah.
And you're going to run into a service member, and then we've got to watch out and help each other and support each other and support one another through these times, because if the knowledge is out there and you're not utilizing it, then what is it out there for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it out there for? And then why? I mean, we've taken advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say we have reaped, the benefits, but we used it and it worked.
Oh yeah.
We went through the process. It worked. Anybody else can do it too.
Yep.
Just not anybody can do it by yourself. You can do it with the right people to guide you through the necessary process to attain home ownership here in a while.
Oh yeah. And I think you're a perfect teammate to do that for these deserving service members, Leeroy. So, and then really to wrap up, like the main thing that we were talking about today, obviously it's education. You don't know what you don't know. Education's so important. And with that being said, what is the best way to contact the Leeroy Kusto?
The Leeroy Kusto. Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, all the platforms. But probably the easiest way is my Instagram. I'm pretty active on my Instagram. It's just Leeroy_Kusto. My first name and last name. You find me on there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. If you need to connect with, anyone, I can help connect you to them. But yeah, that's where you can find me. But how can they find you, Chris?
Oh, well, I'll go on that in a second. But yeah, if you want to get some daily morning motivation to go work out, go follow Leeroy Kusto. If you want some good knowledge bombs on what the market looks like, how the market's turning in your favor, or hey, maybe like right now is the best time for a consultation, definitely go check out Leeroy. And then honestly, the best way is like we're gonna put your phone number out there. Give Leeroy a call. He's gonna answer first ring.
Yeah,
so.
First ring. Maybe the second one. But the number is 808-373-6272. I'm happy to help. Call me. Let's link.
Yep. And then a best way to reach me, obviously, I love talking. I'll FaceTime you. I'll Zoom you. If you're overseas in Korea or in Europe or something like that, I'll WhatsApp you. Do the whole video teleconference thing. I'm really good at that. And then it's one of those things where if you rather talk email, if you rather talk DM, at MyLenderChris on Instagram, Chris Lee on Facebook. I'm here to give you that information. I'm here to be that advocate for you. And I don't just talk about VA loans. I don't talk about home ownership all the time. I really do care about the veteran. I really do care about the active duty service member. There's so many programs. There's so many different avenues to benefit the service member, their families, and the way they transition out sometimes. So GI Bill, veteran advocacy, education, just so many healthcare and all these different things that these young warfighters can benefit off of because of their service and how they have just completely sold on the mission first mentality.
If you would like to get in contact with either me or Chris, you got our contact information. We are more than happy to help. Chris, man, this has been fun. I think we should do another one, provide more information, maybe get down and dirty and, show a little bit of the strategies on how we help and guide military family members and veterans alike on how to transition from the military and or even the process of, home ownership.
I'm pumped and I'm sold and I'm bought in on it, Leroy. So just let me know, and then it's one of those things where we're here to serve. We're always serving, and it's one of those things where we appreciate you listening in on us today, and then can't wait to provide that service for you. And when we do, we're excited. But we'll catch you very soon. Aloha.